The arena was buzzing, the kind of electric energy that shakes your chest before you even find your seat. It was one of the biggest nights of Caitlin Clark's college career, a high-stakes game against a nationally ranked rival, broadcast live across the country. Iowa fans had filled the stands, waving gold and black banners, chanting her name before the players even stepped onto the court. Nobody watching that night knew what Caitlin had been through just hours earlier. To the crowd, she was the fearless star, the one who lived for moments like these. But behind the confident smile and the warm-up drills, Caitlin was hiding something she didn't want anyone to see. Her right ankle was on fire. 2 nights before the game, during a closed practice session, Caitlin had rolled her ankle badly while driving to the basket. She'd gone down hard, clutching her leg, biting her lip so no one would hear her scream. Teammates had rushed over, trainers too, and for a moment there was a terrifying silence in the gym. She'd been helped off the floor, grimacing but trying to laugh it off. "Nothing's stopping me Saturday," she muttered through gritted teeth, even though she could barely put weight on her foot. The trainers insisted on an MRI. Her parents begged her to sit the game out. The coaches gently suggested it wasn't worth risking a full season for one matchup. But Caitlin Clark wasn't built to sit, not when the lights were brightest, not when the world was watching. That night, after everyone left the gym, Caitlin sat alone in the locker room with her swollen ankle wrapped in ice packs. She pulled out her phone and stared at the scouting report for the game, reading it over and over like she could somehow will her body to cooperate. She thought about her teammates, about the fans who had driven hours to watch her play, about the little girls in the stands wearing her jersey, hoping to see their hero do something special. And most of all, she thought about that 9-year-old version of herself, the one who had once missed a layup and vowed never to quit no matter what. So she made her decision. She was going to play. Game day arrived, and Caitlin did everything she could to hide the pain. Extra tape, extra warm-ups, painkillers, anything to make it through. When she jogged out of the tunnel with her team, the crowd roared like thunder, and for a brief moment, the adrenaline masked everything. But the first few possessions were brutal. Every step sent a jolt of pain shooting up her leg. She hesitated on her drives, afraid to push off her injured ankle. Her first shot clanged off the rim. Her second barely grazed it. The opposing defense noticed immediately. They started pressing her harder, forcing her to move, testing her limits. By halftime, Iowa was down by 12. Caitlin had only 4 points, and she could feel the frustration boiling in the huddle. Coach looked at her and asked quietly, "Be honest. Can you go?" Caitlin didn't hesitate. "I've got this," she said, even though she wasn't sure she believed it herself. In the locker room, while everyone else refocused on strategy, Caitlin slipped off her shoe, wincing at the sight of her bruised ankle. One of the trainers crouched beside her and whispered, "You're making it worse, Kate." She just nodded without saying a word, pulled her sock back on, and tightened her laces until her foot went numb. The second half was different. Something switched inside her, a stubbornness, a refusal to let pain write her story. Every possession became personal. She started attacking the basket, ignoring the stabbing fire in her leg. She started hitting deep threes, her shooting form automatic despite the swelling, and with every bucket, the arena grew louder, the Iowa bench wilder, the energy heavier. With just under 2 minutes left, the game was tied. Iowa had the ball. Everyone in the building knew exactly who was going to take the shot. Caitlin dribbled at the top of the key, the clock winding down. Her defender was glued to her hip, hands up, daring her to drive on the bad ankle. She hesitated, 1 step back, 2. Then she launched a 3 from what felt like another zip code. The ball sailed through the air, spinning perfectly, and for a split second, the entire arena went silent. Swish. The place erupted. Caitlin clenched her fists and screamed, her teammates mobbing her near half-court. But even as the crowd celebrated, she staggered back to the bench, limping badly now, her face pale with exhaustion. Iowa held on for the win, but Caitlin couldn't even walk to the locker room without two teammates holding her up. After the game, reporters flooded her with questions. How did she manage to hit the game winner under so much pressure? Was she hurt? Did she know her stats? She smiled softly and gave the same answer every time. I just wanted to help my team win. What she didn't say, what no one outside that locker room knew, was that the pain was so bad she cried in the shower afterward, leaning against the wall so her leg wouldn't buckle. That night, while her teammates went out to celebrate, Caitlin sat in her dorm room with an ice bucket, scrolling through messages from fans, young girls telling her she inspired them. And that's when it hit her. She hadn't played that night just for Iowa. She hadn't played just for herself. She had played for every kid who looked up to her, every dreamer who needed to see that sometimes greatness isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up, even when it hurts. Caitlin Clark didn't just score 34 points that night. She showed the world what heart looks like. When Caitlin finally reached the locker room after the game, the noise from the arena still echoed faintly in the distance. Her teammates were celebrating wildly, music blasting, laughter bouncing off the walls, the sweet sound of victory filling the air. But Caitlin sat silently in the corner, untying her shoes with shaky hands, her face pale and lips tight. The moment she pulled off her right shoe, she hissed in pain. Her ankle was swollen to twice its size, angry shades of purple creeping up toward her calf. The trainer knelt down next to her, shaking his head slowly. You shouldn't have played on this, he said quietly, so the others wouldn't hear. Caitlin didn't answer. She just stared at the floor, breathing through the pain. The trainer gently wrapped her ankle in ice, but Caitlin waved him off when he suggested crutches. I'll walk, she insisted. Her voice was steady, but her body betrayed her. Every step was a limp, every movement a reminder of what she'd just put herself through. The coach came over, crouching beside her. You scared the hell out of us out there, she said softly. You didn't have to do this, Kate. We could have survived without you. Caitlin finally looked up, meeting her coach's eyes. Maybe, she whispered, but surviving isn't why I came here. The bus ride back to campus was quiet. Most of her teammates were asleep, earbuds in, their heads resting against the windows. But Caitlin couldn't close her eyes. The adrenaline was wearing off, and the throbbing in her ankle was relentless. But what kept her awake wasn't the pain, it was the fear. What if she'd made it worse? She thought about the doctor's warnings before the game, about how a torn ligament could end her season, maybe even change her career trajectory. She clenched her jaw and pushed the thought away, focusing instead on the cheers, the smiles, the little girls in the stands waving her jersey. But deep down, she knew she had rolled the dice with her future that night. 2 days later, the MRI results came back. Caitlin sat in the trainer's office, tapping her fingers nervously against the arm of the chair. The doctor walked in holding the scans, his expression unreadable. You're lucky, he finally said. No tears, just a bad sprain. But you need rest, at least 2 weeks, minimum. 2 weeks. For most athletes, that would have been a relief. For Caitlin, it felt like a prison sentence. She hated sitting out, hated watching from the sidelines while others carried the team. But this time, she had no choice. Those 2 weeks were some of the hardest of Caitlin's life. Every practice, she sat on the bench, ankle wrapped, forcing herself to watch her teammates run drills she desperately wanted to join. Every game, she paced the sidelines like a caged animal, unable to hide her frustration as the team struggled without her. One night, after a particularly tough loss, she stayed in the empty gym long after everyone else had left. She sat on the scorer's table, staring at the darkened court, the silence pressing in on her. Her phone buzzed. A message from her dad. "Proud of you tonight. Don't rush it. The game will wait for you." She smiled faintly but didn't reply, because she wasn't sure if she believed it. When Caitlin finally returned to the court, something was different. The injury had changed her. Not her game, but her mindset. She'd always played with fire, but now there was something deeper fueling her. An understanding of just how fragile this dream really was. She started practicing smarter, taking better care of her body, but her competitive edge never dulled. And that night, the night she limped her way to 34 points on a bad ankle and hit the game winner from another zip code, became part of the legend. Fans didn't know the pain. Reporters didn't know the tears. Only Caitlin knew the cost. Months later, in an interview, a journalist asked her about that game. "People call it one of the greatest performances of your career," he said. "Where does it rank for you?" Caitlin smiled faintly, glancing down at her hands before answering. "It's not about the points," she said quietly. "It's about proving to myself that I could do it, even when it hurt, even when no one believed I should." The reporter pressed her about the ankle, but Caitlin just shrugged. "Sometimes," she said, "you don't need the world to know what you go through. You just need to know yourself." Years from now, fans will remember the shot, the deep three that silenced the arena and sent the Iowa bench into chaos. They'll remember the score, the win, the highlight reels. But Caitlin Clark will always remember the pain, the way every step felt like walking on broken glass, the way her breath caught every time she landed, the way she fought herself as much as she fought the defense. And maybe that's why she's great. Because greatness isn't measured in points or records. It's measured in moments like these. When no one knows what you're carrying, when no one sees the struggle, when no one realizes just how much it hurts. That night, Caitlin Clark gave everything she had. And no one knew.